Today is the 16th day of February 2015, and I welcome a good friend, Anil.
Hello.
Welcome, Anil. Namaskar. Anil, how did you first hear of Sri Aurobindo and Mother?
Through my father. My father is a devotee, was devotee. He had his Sri Aurobindo's last darshan on in November 24th, 1950, before he passed away. And he read some articles in some Gujarati magazine about Sri Aurobindo and he was looking for a guru. So he applied, and after 2 times it was denied, and third time he came to Pondicherry and he got permission to see Sri Aurobindo. When he came in, it is very interesting. He bought a book and he wanted to ask so many questions to Sri Aurobindo. I mean, he didn't know that he just pass by and you can't ask the question. So he bought a book and he put the bill in the middle of the book. Now, as he marched past, he saw a golden body sitting right there. And he said, "This is God. This cannot be nobody but God." And since that day onwards, Sri Aurobindo was his God. He never goes to any temple. He said, even more than Sri Krishna, he is my God. So through him, I got introduced to Sri Aurobindo and Mother. Now, as I was saying about the book, so he wanted to ask so many questions. So in the middle of the book, he put the receipt. And when he opened the receipt, the questions that he wanted to ask, the answers were right there. So that's amazing, When I was 10-year-old, my father took all our family to Pondicherry. On 1st of January, I think it was 1959 or 1960, I don't remember. But Mother distributed calendar and soap to everybody. We were passing by. And I prayed to her. I was 10-year-old. I was naive. I didn't know anything. And as I passed by, she called me back. She called one of the sadhaks to call me back. And then she put her hand on my head. And my father said, "You are blessed. So many people have passed by. I don't know why she called you and, put your hand." And I remember that moment. I had an eye contact with her. And what I saw, and I didn't know at that time, but later on I remember that she must be about 80-year-old at that time, 1960. But I saw a very young person sitting there, like Mahalakshmi. And all around, I cannot forget that moment, And now I'm old, so I prayed to Mother. So it's give me that moment again. Show me that moment in my dream, So that was my first touch, introduction to Mother. And then every balcony darshan we used to go in the morning, and it looks like as if she's looking at me all the time. And then I asked my brothers and sisters, they said, "No, she was looking at me only." And I got that feeling that everybody feels that Mother is just looking at her.
Always.
And that feeling, that darshan, that balcony darshan is still in my memory. Now I will tell you two or three very interesting occasions where how I got help in the critical moment in my life. When I was in first year science, we had a chemistry test, and we are given two solutions to solve. What is positive, negative. So on that day I was nervous or something. On that exam day, out of 2 hours, 1.5 hours already passed, and I couldn't find any solution. I was making some kind of mistakes. So at that time, I prayed to Mother. I prayed 2 minutes. I said, "Mother, I need your help right now. I cannot wait a moment." And then I started haphazardly in between get some results, because I didn't have time to go through all the series of testing. So I started in the middle somewhere, just jumped in the middle. And behold, in out of 4, 3 came immediately like this. Just 5 minutes before the exam got over, I got 3 out of 4. Otherwise I would have flunked the test, the final test. And I had to repeat the whole year. So that was the first Mother's grace I had. And then a lot of latent period in between. And then there are other 2 interesting stories I'll tell you about how she saved my daughter. She was 2-year-old, and I went for an interview for the job. And me and my wife were talking in the room. We checked the balcony that she cannot jump over. So she was playing in the balcony. So we were talking about, where to buy, what to do. And we left her alone. and she threw her toys outside the balcony, and then when we saw, she was hanging on the other side of the balcony, holding with two hands, 2-year-old. And I just got shocked. I couldn't do anything at that moment. But my wife rushed, and we just grabbed her out. For 2 or 5 seconds more, she would have been dead. So that was one of the eye-opener, or what you call an experience that mother just hold her right there. Otherwise, she would have been dead, and my life would have been ruined totally. So the third experience I'll tell you, about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a brain tumor surgery, pituitary adenoma surgery. And we were on a tour, and suddenly I said, I cannot see. I told my wife, I see blurry. And I had sudden headache. So I had hemorrhage in the tumor, later on I found out. And at that time we asked to a jeweler shop in one of the islands. He said, we want to go to the hospital. And she said, there's one Indian ophthalmologist, why don't you go to him? So we went there.
Where was this?
He's one in Cayman Island.
Cayman Islands. Mm-hmm.
So there is one Indian ophthalmologist, said, why don't you go there? So we went there. So he examined me thoroughly, half hour, and he said, nothing to worry about. There is some retinal changes, it will go away because of stress, probably related to stress. But he was not sure. So in front of me, he called one of the surgeon in our town, neurologist. He said, I'm making an appointment to see him immediately when you go back. So I went back there, and in the evening he saw me, he said, you need emergency MRI. Now I'm myself a radiologist, so he immediately sent it to my center where I read cases. I got emergency MRI, and there was a 6 centimeter big tumor, which I diagnosed myself. I said, this is pituitary adenoma. That he was suspecting. Then he immediately, in the morning, he called the neurosurgeon. He said, I got 2 top-notch neurosurgeons. One is in Miami, but he's not personable. There is another lady doctor, but she's very good. So I chose to go to her. And my wife said, and as I was passing through MRI, the tumor was engulfing the gland. And she said, if I can remove the tumor, but if I can remove part of the gland, you'll have to get to steroid therapy and other hormone therapy. So while I was in the MRI machine, I said, Om Namo Bhagavate. I was imagining myself that I'm building a wall between the tumor and the healthy tissue, so that she doesn't remove the healthy tissue. So 1 hour I was like imagining building a wall, And she did the surgery. She had to do two surgeries because one surgery couldn't remove it. So in 48 hours, I had 2 surgeries. I was in neuro ICU. And believe me, she removed the whole tumor, but gland was intact. And all the hormones came back normal. So that prayer did work, and it shielded my tumor from the pituitary gland. Another incident I'll tell you. We were going in a cruise, and my wife had in my purse all our passports, all our money, everything. We had nothing. We got off the bus, and then after 10 minutes, when we were going in the cruise, she suddenly remembered her purse she left in the bus, the whole purse. And we had no money, no phones, no passports. So we went back to the bus stop. And I remember the driver, and the bus must have gone 3-4 times to pick up the various passengers. I went there. The purse was lying right there. Nobody has touched it. Nobody has seen it. So this mother's grace, I think mother is looking after all of us personally. She's there personally for us. Her grace is working all the time. And these are my experiences.
Now,
and these are just few experiences. I've got so many to tell. But
yes, we want to hear many more. But where were you living? Tell us about your life. Where were you living and working?
Well, I studied in Bombay, and then I did my MBBS or physician's degree in Bombay. Then I came to USA and did my residency and internship and then residency in radiology. And I'm a diagnostic radiologist now.
Where?
I'm working in
Where
Florida.
Florida.
Even this is interesting story. When I gave my ECFMG examination, that was for coming to USA, we moved to another place. And one of the neighbor, she was staying on the second floor. She said, there is one doctor coming from USA. Why don't you talk to him? So I went there and talked to him. And in fact, he introduced me to his administrator for my job in internship in that particular hospital. It happened that that particular year, a lot of doctors from Vietnam came back, and so there were no openings. And in the whole city of Bombay, me and other two were the only got the job that year. And so that how mother arranges stuff, for you. There are two incidents I'll tell you about my father, which are very interesting. My father had a habit of looking at the pulse. He said he has a heart disease. So he was pacing all the time, and I've seen him doing that. And he wanted to get rid of this fear. So this was a darshan day. My father came every year for 60 years to Pondicherry.
60 years.
60 years. Since after the darshan, when he met Sri Aurobindo, he used to come regularly 15th of August. So Pranavda was instrument. He said, Mother, he sent a note, Mother, I want to see you only for 1 minute. So Pranavda said, this is a darshan day, but I'll try. Mother said, okay. So there was face to face. He just looked at his eyes, and that's it. And he forgot counting the pulse from that day onwards. So, and
you have other stories about your father. What about your mother?
my mother is a typical Vaishnavite, so she goes to Srinathji temple, but she comes with my father off and on. She used to come.
And how many times did you see mother?
I saw him balcony darshan 4 to 5 times, and then one more time I came, about 4 to 5 days. But that personal darshan was only one. That was 1st of January day. But then I had seen her in dream in one time, and there was sudden. I was traveling in the train from Ahmedabad, and about 5 o'clock in the morning, I saw the mother in the balcony, and I could remember the detail, the color of the balcony, exactly the same like you have balcony here, and she gave me balcony darshan that day, at about 5 o'clock in the morning or so in the train.
And your father, what work did he do?
He was a cloth merchant.
Eh?
Cloth merchant.
Cloth merchant.
And he said so many times, I said, I'm so ordinary person, why mother is so graceful to me? But he had 2 or 3 times, he had personal meeting with mother in the room. And my father, this chain I'm wearing, that's mother's chain. Mother gave it to him, and I got 2 books signed by mother herself. One of his, the book Mother, that's the original book written by Sri Aurobindo.
The mother.
The Mother, signed by her, given it to him. There is another book, Golden Book of Mother. And it's very interesting. It must be old book. I don't know whether it's available now. But in that book, Mother translating Isopnishat in Hebrew and in Sanskrit. And I don't know, that book it's so old book. It's all worn out, but Mother signed her name and gave it to him.
Where do you have that book?
I got in Florida. When my father passed away in September, and so at that time, after he passed away, I came to visit. And then my mother said, these are all the books and everything that he has. And he has so many blessing packets and full of. I said, I got a lot of blessing packets, but I'll see the books. And I came across this book, so signed by her.
In Hebrew?
In Hebrew, he translated Isopnishat. Or in Japanese. Sorry,
Oh, Japanese.
Yeah,
Okay, Japanese.
Japanese
yeah.
language.
I would like to upload this book one day onto
Sure,
the website.
it's in Florida.
When you
in my
come
home.
again,
Yes,
please bring it.
right.
Good.
It's called Golden Book of Mother.
I've never heard of it.
Yes, it's very old book.
Very
It's worn
interesting.
out, but it's
Yeah. And we'll scan it and we'll upload it. And sure.
so I always grateful to my father for, he was the one who introduced me to Sri Aurobindo
And did you ever dream of Sri Aurobindo?
once.
Really?
Once. And this was very interesting, I'll tell you. Sri Aurobindo was sitting there, and there were 2 sadhaks there. And I was out of my body. I was in the ceiling somewhere. And he had a gaping wound here on the arm. And the disciple asked him, he said, oh, it's just because of heat of the yoga that I got a gaping one, don't worry about. But they said, no, we want to put some medicine over there. So just uh, for them, he said, okay, you can put it. So they put some, and then after a while they left. So I was alone. Said, now this is a good chance to go to Sri Aurobindo. So I came down, no body. Then I said, Lord, I want to touch your feet. So he put his feet, and then I touched his feet. Then I said, give me Diksha for Purna Yoga, you know. And it said, you are not ready yet. He put the word yet, he put an emphasis on that word. I was a little disappointed. But then I reflect back and I said, he said, not ready yet. And he put a yet, you know, he put a little pressure there. That means in future, maybe I'll be ready for his yoga. I think maybe for lower nature or whatever, we are not completely ready for surrender, but one day we will be.
And have you dreamt of Mother?
Hmm?
Have you dreamt of Mother?
Yeah, one time I said I had a balcony darshan.
Oh, that was the only time. Uh-huh.
And it was interesting, that gaping wound, and I come across a poem of him. He said, my gaping wounds are 1,001.
Yes, that's
Have
a
you
God's
heard?
labor.
Yeah. So I didn't know about at that time.
Ah,
But so that suggests that I really had met Sri Aurobindo, and it's not my mental things, because there was a gaping one.
Yeah. Did you know some of the older sadhaks?
Sundaram, MP Pandit.
Can you
Uh,
tell us some
MP
remembrance?
Pandit, yes, I remember MP Pandit very well. I come every year here since last 30 years or so, almost every year. And when I came, I met MP Pandit, and he said next day, he said, you look much peaceful now than yesterday. It's a effect of samadhi, you know. And then he, you know, I bought a lot of books from him, and I spent some 5 or 10 minutes with him. It was very interesting. And Sundaram, I met him in the dining hall, and you know, he's Gujarati, so I talked to him.
Any other of the older sadhaks that you remember?
Let me see. No, these are the two main.
Those are the two main ones. Mhm. And now what do you feel when you go to the Matrimandya chamber?
Oh, it's amazing experience. It's just touches right to your psyche, you know. It's amazing. Even in Samadhi, even in Sri Aurobindo's room, I always feel tears run when I go to Sri Aurobindo's room. I become emotional.
I know that.
I mean that the time stands there as if if he's right there. You know, you feel feel his presence so vividly. But we have a long way to go, long journey, and one time 21st February I came and I went to mother's room. Me and my wife, and we are passing by. She came too, and at that time I had this Mohan Mistri's Janmani Tamma Mata, you know. So I always feel I was anxious. Maybe this birth I know, but what about next birth? I want to be with. But I think she will take me next birth, for sure. Okay, one time I came to Pondicherry first time, and I wanted to go to Matrumandir Darshan. And at that time I didn't know that you can email and get the permission. There was 1 hour, they have, you know, phone call, you can call and then make an appointment. And then behind the walk, I forgot the person's name, behind the walk, he said, okay, I will make an arrangement. So he started calling, but the numbers were busy all the time, you know. And only 5 minutes were left. The numbers were busy. He said, I cannot get in touch with them to go, for you to go in the darshan. So I said, give me the phone. So I prayed Mother. I said, Mother, do you want me to come there or not? You know, just tell me, you know. So I said, let me dial the number. I dialed the number, immediately it rang. This is how I was trying for last so many minutes, and I didn't get through. I said, it's Mother's grace. And I said, do you have opening? And it was only 2 or 3 minutes left. They have only 1 hour they give for appointment, and I got the appointment. And then next day, I said, I want to come again, mother, But I didn't have appointment. I said, let me try anyway, just go and see, otherwise I'll just go to the Bharat Nivas and come back. So I went there, and there was one opening where somebody didn't come. So I got the chance. Second time, same thing happened. This time I booked through USA, and then I got the chance. And then I said, I want to come again. So next day I said, okay, I will try. I went there. Somebody didn't show up, and I got the chance to go. So mother acts in very, very small incident that we don't even know. And we look back after a while, and sometimes it happens. Something happens in our life, and then we feel, mother, why did this happen? But after 10 years, it's good that thing happened.
Yes.
Because there is another story that I was working in a group, in radiology group, and something happened that it didn't click with the group, so I left the group. And later on I found out in 2 years that the whole group was fired from the hospital, fired the whole group. So I would have left my job anyway, in a bed.
Yeah.
This is where I got to choose the place where I want to work. There is another story I can tell you about my father's friend. He used to come with him. My father's friend, one time he was in big financial trouble. He had no money, he borrowed money from everybody. Only thing was he has his flat he wanted to sell, but it was not selling. And he took money from everybody. He didn't have any money except his flat. And so he was crying to my father. He said, what do I do? It was in Pondicherry. They were in Pondicherry at that time, visiting. So my father said, why don't you pray, mother? She's the only one who can help you now, So next day, they went from Pondicherry to Mumbai. And as soon as he got off of the train, his son came to pick him up. And he said, somebody is waiting to buy our flat. Somebody is waiting to buy our flat. And he paid some 20,000 more than what he expected. He immediately wrote a check, 20,000, this mother's money,
So you have much family history with mother, huh?
Well, this is my father's friend.
Just your father. Any
His
other
friend.
children in your family?
I got 3 children, and they have all visited Pondicherry, but they have not hooked up with.
What about sisters and brothers?
I got 2 sisters and brother, but they are still not.
I
They are
see.
not interested. They are not interested at all. And
Yeah, I think that Christ said, many are called and few are chosen.
And my wife also, she has come 3 times with me. After our marriage, we came for our blessings here, and then we came other 2 times. But she's very sincere, but she has her own guru, and
Sure.
but she does respect. But she thinks that Sri Aurobindo is just like other saint. I told her they are not saint, they are Lord. And she doesn't say, I don't know about the supermind and supramental. I lead my bhakti, Krishna, and that's about it.
So,
But she has, we have a Krishna and Radha, and she has about 200 clothes for her. She is very much into it. She changes their clothes every day, and
Can you recall any other incidents with your father or yourself?
No, my father always said, every time I pray to her, it's answered. So many times. But these are the 2 or 3 main incidents.
You said you had many more things.
I told you about my job and other
Yes,
stuff.
yes. Did you ever live in the ashram for a time?
No, I come and visit 3-4 days, 1 week sometimes, But I've been coming regularly since 1986. Yeah, one time, another incident, we were passing in the car in Valparaiso where we were living, and there was a railway track. We didn't know there was a railway track. There was all bushes around. As soon as our car passed the railway track, train came fast. 2 seconds more, we would have been done with the whole family. So I think the mother is saving all the time. She's looking after all of us individually. I think she's looking after all we have to open to her, and that's it.
How do you feel her grace in you?
Well, these are all graceful things that I.
No, but in you, within you.
Oh, within you, I used to. There was a time about 6 months. I used to put Sri Aurobindo's photograph on my chest and go to sleep. I still remember every night before I go to bed, I pray to her. In the morning, I pray to her, and during the daytime, so many times I see her, imagine her feet, and imagine her form, or imagine all their life stories. Sri Aurobindo's life story.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you.